Happy Friday, Chicago. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. I'm Jay Zawaski with Greg Boysen and Mario Tirabassi. Lawrence Benedetto's here as well. Woo! And that's it.
Hello.
No one else is here.
No one.
We could do the show naked and no one would know.
Yeah. Let's test that theory. You
Nah.
first, Jay.
That's the CHG OnlyFans soon to be created.
Love it.
To pay the bills around here. But we appreciate everybody being with us. Thank you so much. We have a lot to get to today, so we're going to get to it relatively quickly. Before we do, make sure you smash the like button for us. Make sure you are following and subscribed on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube, and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. All right, we're doing our review preview stuff that we do every week. Today is Connor Murphy, Nick Foligno, and Frank Nazar. But if you're an Elite Prospects subscriber, and if you're a Hawks fan, you should be, Mitch Brown from Elite Prospects wrote an incredible deep dive on Frank Nazar's improvement from his injury-shortened year at Michigan to last year, and kind of previewed what you can expect from him. We're going to go deep dive on Frank Nazar the second half of the show, so make sure you stick around for that. But we're going to start with our review preview, and we're going to start with Connor Murphy today.
Yes.
Connor Murphy last season for the Blackhawks played 46 games, had 2 goals, 6 assists, and 8 points.
Quickly, shout out to King Tanner, who I believe in the comments section there just said he's off to subscribe to us now. So shout out King Tanner. Love that. Become a diehard, just like King Tanner, and be loved forever by us here at CHGO.
Yeah,
yes.
Thanks, King Tanner.
Connor Murphy. Injuries were a hindrance on him this year. It's a bit of a concern moving forward with him as well. But by all accounts, it seems like he'll be healthy and ready to go for the start of the season. He's not a big point guy. Never has been, never was, never will be. So, I mean, as far as predicting points, I think it's not as important as what he does defensively, what he does to, shut down an opponent. He's a guy that, with some potential back issues, injury issues. He blocks a lot of shots. He's been the Blackhawks leader in hits, I think, for the time from when he's been here to currently. He has had the most hits on the team, or is one of the 2 leaders each year. So I wonder about his durability in that play style. But so long as he can be on the ice, that's going to be beneficial for not only him and the Blackhawks, but also young guys like Kevin Korchinski. We saw what happened with him playing with Jacob Megna mostly last season. So I gave Connor Murphy a C+ for last year because when he was on the ice, I feel like he did his job, did what was asked of him. He's part of the leadership group. He is I think he's the most tenured player on the team right now.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
So I mean, that is important. That does factor into my grade, but only being able to play 46 games, I think if he played more, I'd get him into that B range, because I think what you're asking of Connor Murphy, he is providing. But I think he's always I think he gets dogged on still because of who he was traded for.
Yes, although he is still playing and the other guy is not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you could say the Blackhawks won that trade.
I would say so, yes. Well, all those Stanley Cups the Coyotes won, though, with Nicholas Johnson.
In Utah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Murphy last year, 46 games played. That was the lowest of his career. Fewest minutes total in his entire career, not including his rookie season when he just played 30 games.
Total minutes.
He was minus 19, which was his worst since his full rookie season as a minus 27. I gave him a C- because if we remember, I know it feels like a lifetime ago, but beginning of the season, October, Connor Murphy was not good.
Yeah.
He was getting beat a lot to the outside. Maybe a little of that had to do with he was trying to cheat to help Kevin Korchinski and wasn't trusting Korchinski enough to where he felt like he had to play a little closer to the center of the ice, and he was getting beat wide. It looked like he lost a little bit, maybe a half a step. And then, of course, it was a hamstring injury that bothered him most of the year, right?
Or some
always
sort
think
of
with him
it's
injury.
back, but yeah, I think this year was not his back.
I think 2 years ago was a back problem.
Yeah.
This year, I thought it was more to do with the hamstring. So again, he's gonna be 31 this season.
Groin strain.
Groin, hamstring.
Groin injury.
Same thing. He is, already 31, will be 32 the second half of the season. 2 more years left on his deal. I mean, I love what Connor Murphy brings to the locker room. Veteran leadership. He's a pro's pro. On the ice, this was his shortest and worst season since coming to the Blackhawks. Yeah. But hopefully a full off season to get that groin going, and maybe he'll get that new dad bump to start the season.
I think we are underestimating the new dad strength.
Hey, I mean, it seems that almost every time a player, has their first child or significant other has their first child, they always seem to score that next game. So maybe opening night goal.
Opening night goal. Look at on Circa right now.
Whoever goes first for Who's Your Hawk opening night better take Connor Murphy because he's got to win it.
Good point.
Get out to the early lead. Yeah. I hope for a nice bounce back this year, but I don't know. We'll see. The health is an issue, but the year before he played 80 of 82 games. That was a career high in games played. So he's proven that he can do it.
They're just so much better when he plays.
Yes. So hopefully we get a rebound and we get that consistent presence of Connor Murphy that we've been used to.
Well, so the way I've been scoring this, and I think you guys are kind of on the same track, is C is if you give me exactly what I expect from you. That's a C, right? So it's not necessarily a bad grade. It's C is average. C is what I expect. C is what I got my whole life in school.
I see what you did there.
So I gave him a C because guess what? What do we expect from Connor Murphy? Solid defense and an injury-shortened season with great off-ice leadership, socially conscious comments when needed. He did all those things, and that's it. He gave you an exact Connor Murphy season, and I'm hoping that next season for Connor Murphy is a little bit longer. There's no way I expect him to play all 82. I wouldn't even predict 70 games at this point. I mean, yeah, he's 31, but there's a lot of hard miles on that, and when you look at back injuries, never really get better. So I gave him a C. And again, I don't mean it as any kind of criticism, but it's just he kind of gave us what we thought he was going to give us. And I'm not going to punish a guy for being hurt, especially when it's the way he plays, the injury history, those things. I have no question in my mind that Connor Murphy does what he can do to prevent injuries from happening.
I got a feeling if Connor Murphy saw our grades, he'd probably tell us we all gave him too high grades.
Yeah, I mean,
if Connor Murphy probably thinks he didn't.
He holds himself to a high standard. All these guys do.
Wasn't worth a C, but he's an easy guy to root for. So hopefully, it's a bounce back season would be key not only for the Hawks' success, but just you want to see a guy like that succeed.
Definitely. Yep. All right, so let's do our predictions for next season. Mario, start us off.
I said that he plays at least 60 or more games. I think that would be wonderful. I hope that's more of a prediction than a just hope. But I would love to see him do that. 5 goals, 13 points, 13 assists, 18 points. I think that would be a pretty typical season for him. And yeah, I like you said, they are better with him on the ice than off. I think they insulated their roster for potential injuries more this year than they had last year. So if he does potentially not play for a majority of the season, I don't think you lose as much this year because you got Alec Martinez, you got TJ Brody back there. You also have, guys that are coming up the ranks as well. I think you have more trust in Ethan Del Mastro and Nolan Allen and Wyatt Kaiser as they progress in their development. So I would still like to see Murphy play more, 60 games or more, but I think that would be, if he does that, puts up those points, plays those minutes, I think it'll be just fine. And I think it's what the Hawks need out of him.
Yeah, I had 3 goals and 9 assists for 12 points. I didn't make a games played prediction. That's just too tough when you're dealing with veteran defensemen who like to play physical. I would hope for at least 60 games this year. I mean, the fact that it wasn't his back last year that was the problem. and it was something that,
it's encouraging.
A groin can heal, and so that you feel a little better about that. And then with the additions of an Alec Martinez and TJ Brody, maybe, if Murph is feeling a little ouchy, you give him a night off in the middle of the season. You don't have to put him out there every night. You could say, hey, you know what? We're going to put TJ in there in your spot tonight. Take a night off. You've earned it. You just points of never his thing. Anything you get from him is extra. And if he's out there with Kevin Korchinski, he doesn't have to do any of the offensive stuff.
Yeah, I had him for 60 games as well. And kind of the same mindset you're at, Greg, where they're in a position where they don't have to play him every night. And if you sit him one of a back-to-back, and it gives you a chance to get Brody or whoever else that seventh defenseman you have in the rotation into the lineup a little bit. Maybe, again, they're doing, I doubt it, but maybe your 7 again is Isaac Phillips or somebody like that, who is not a huge part of the future, that they'll get him in on one of the back-to-backs or something like that, just to keep him healthy, keep him fresh. I think it's a good idea. So I'm going to say 60 games, 3 goals, and 10 assists. Again, the offense, it doesn't really matter. Just, He's never going to be a guy that's his game. I'm not really worried about that part of his game. I just want him to go out there, be solid defensively, continue to be a leader on and off the ice, and just play as many games as he can. I think I'm more worried about the games played than the goals or the assists.
Yeah.
With Connor Murphy.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, next up, we're going to move on to Nick Foligno, our buddy. Last year, 74 games, 17 goals, 20 assists, and 37 points.
I gave Nick Foligno an A- because I think when Blackhawks made the trade to acquire him and Taylor Hall, I think the big name was Taylor Hall, and we thought, oh, Nick Foligno, there's a veteran, cool, that's good, and I think he came into this organization, and on the ice, he provided more than I expected, which I think that's that says something, but also off the ice, he provided a leadership presence that this team needed to have, provided, and look, I think across the league, Nick Foligno, his reputation of being like a great locker room guy, great leader, was a captain in Columbus and all that. Teammates love him anywhere he goes. I think that was already known, but to get to know him personally and to get to know him through covering the team last year, it was just like it met and exceeded expectations. So I'm giving it an A- based off of kind of exceeding on ice and off ice expectations. He got a 2-year extension because of what he was able to do and provide, and the attitude that he came in with, and he quickly became a voice that I feel like not only the locker room and his teammates follow, but also kind of coaching staff and front office follows a little bit too, listens to and holds some weight. So I think he came into this organization and provided something that I don't think we knew that they were, to the extent that he filled that role, that we knew that they were going to need.
Yeah, I gave Nick Foligno an A- as well. He far exceeded expectations. Spending a lot of time top line, top 6, power play unit, like playing well beyond what was expected. Especially when you look at his 2 seasons in Boston, he averaged less than 12 and a half minutes a game for 2 full seasons. Mm-hmm. And then he averaged...
Yeah, he was like a 4th line guy.
He was used, in a much different role. And then he comes here and he plays 17:46 a night. That's over 5 minutes more a night.
Yeah.
Never expected that. And then as we got to know him, even before he started doing, hits on our show, you get to talk to him in the locker room. You realize that, it's about as down the earth of a hockey player you're ever going to meet. His personality is very infectious in that locker room. The young guys look up to him. So what he did on the ice was, to me, was very good, but also secondary on being the guy that, had to wake some of these guys up and be the guy that lead him. And Jason Dickinson did a lot of that. Some people got tired of hearing him in post games say those same things, but when not a lot changes, things got to be said. And he obviously this organization really appreciates him, not only because they got him the 2-year extension, but I think he had a lot. I mean, we already admitted he had a lot of input on who was brought in this summer.
100%.
He didn't even have to say anything, but the Tyler Bertuzzi sign had Nick Foligno's fingerprints all over it.
Bertuzzi said so. Bertuzzi said he called me and said, "Hey, you want to play here?"
So there was no doubt when those names, and then Craig Smith comes in, and then Pat Maroon comes in. It's like assistant general manager Nick Foligno is working,
and also look at who doesn't come in, and who's not brought back. Right, like it's. I think we spent a lot of the year reacting to his comments about like, oh, well, he's talking to the kids, and it was like,
no, I don't think so. I think he was talking. I think he was probably far more disappointed in some of those veterans who were passengers on a lot of nights than the kids, because that's going to happen with kids. So Foligno, he even has, I think he has influence on Luke Richardson as well. Luke Richardson said that they had talks about how they're going to change practices next season.
Yeah.
And maybe be a little more intense, quicker practices to get guys a little more focused. And that's coming from guys like Nick Foligno talking to him and saying, hey, I think let's try this. And he's willing to do it. So Nick Foligno's influence is all through this organization, and I think that's a very good thing.
Yep, I gave Nick Foligno an A. I think we're all sort of on the same page here. He gave us a lot more than I thought he was going to, not only with the off-ice stuff we've been talking about, but to get 17 goals and 20 assists from a guy who at the time felt like kind of a throw-in, fourth line veteran presence, good guy in the locker room, turned out to be great in the locker room, and a reliable offensive player. He went from a guy who I think a lot of the fan base when this deal was made kind of went, all right, Nick Foligno, fine. Like, you got to fill out the roster somehow, to a guy that a lot of people want to give the captaincy to. And they want him to wear the C for the next 2 years while Connor Bedard really solidifies his role on the team, in the league, and eventually then is ready to take over that captaincy when Foligno retires or whatever he chooses to do after those 2 years. That's a huge jump after a season that was, from all measurables, basically aside from Connor Bedard, bad. Mm-hmm. You got a good year out of Mrazek, Dickinson. There were some bright spots to the year, but overall it was a bad season. Everybody put up bad numbers, bad plus minus, all those sort of things. And Nick Foligno has endured himself to this fan base very, very quickly. And it wasn't just because he was in front of a microphone, every time he was asked.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was because he performed well on the ice. He was out there giving everything he had and a little bit more. Fans love him, and I think with good reason. So that's for that reason I gave him an A. As for predictions,
I think because the roster got improved, I don't think we're going to see as much of Nick Foligno playing power play and top 6 minutes. So I think he's going to be more of a third, fourth line guy, kind of fitting in more to the role that he's probably suited for. I still think he puts up some decent numbers, because I think we saw a lot of flashes of, that skill that he still had going into last season. So I still think he gets 10 goals, 20 assists, 30 points, plays in a limited role. And I'm saying he's named captain. I think it's going to happen. I think that they are going to have that leadership bridge. He expressed on our air that he was just like, I'm kind of not looking to be that face of the team, that voice in the locker room, the captain. I've done that before. And then he was that last year, and maybe even if he wasn't trying to be, he ended up being that. And does a piece of fabric change anything that he does? No, but I think, the optics of it, I think changes a little bit of the dynamic of the locker room. And with kind of the optics of that, of the leadership group, I think, last year it was Foligno and Jones and Murphy and Tyler Johnson.
Dickinson.
Dickinson and
Yeah,
there were 4 of them,
Johnson
though, right?
had an A,
Was it Tyler Johnson? I know Dickinson did too. Kurashev did too when everyone was hurt.
Everybody got an A by the end of the season.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, again, piece of fabric. But I think, Foligno had one. I think if you give him the C, then you can do a Foligno as captain, Murphy and Jones, and maybe Dickinson and Bedard are the other guys that kind of alternate that leadership role, wearing the letters kind of thing. It's a small thing, but I think it helps build that transition, because are you going to make Bedard captain at 19 years old? Is he? I know it's his in the waiting to be that captain. I think that's fairly clear, but do you want to thrust him into that right away? I'm not sure that's going to be the best path for that. And rather than leave it vacant again, I think everyone sees Foligno as that leader. I think giving him that honor of being a captain of an original 6 team. They left it vacant in respect to Jonathan Toews. I think giving it to Nick Foligno is in no way disrespecting Jonathan Toews at all, because Nick Foligno is a true leader, lives up to that. So I don't know. I think that would. I feel like that's going to be the case. I feel like Foligno is going to be captain this year.
Yeah, I'd be fine with that. And if it isn't, I mean,
it's not the end of the world.
It's not changing what he does. It's not changing what any of these guys do. But I'm going to go with a little downtick in production as well. 11 goals, 13 assists for 24 total points. I think Foligno, he's not going to be top 6, hopefully. I mean, that's not a slam on him, but with the talent you brought in, some of these young players looking to make the jump, there's no reason he should be playing on your top line. I don't think he'll be on the top power play unit anymore. Maybe put him out there for the second power play unit, but as we saw last year, if you're not on the Connor Bedard power play unit, you get 9 seconds a night. So
yeah.
If he's going to be on the 4th line and playing with other 4th liners, he's not going to get the Connor Bedard bump to get some of those easy goals and those primary assists. So it's not saying that he's declining in any way, but I just think because of his role, and we know he's a guy that will accept whatever role he's asked to do, that it will be, not as good offensively this year, but he's still going to bring everything else that's so important to this young team.
And I have his goals going down, but his assists going up slightly. I have 13 goals, 23 assists for 36 points. I just think he'll also be, when he's not with Bedard, he will be with better players, guys that can maybe, score a little bit, aside from it being a one-line team. So that was my thought process there. But yeah, I mean, reduced role, certainly not as much power play time, but when he's not with 98, he will be with more competent players, which I think is good for him, and I think that will keep the total points kind of where they were, but I think the goals are going to go down a little bit. But for the captaincy thing too, I think a lot of people, like we talked about earlier this week, this is not going to follow the same timeline as the dynasty. We have to get out of that mindset, and people are like, well, Jonathan Toews got it right away. Give it to Connor Bedard right away. They're different guys. They're different personalities. They're different hockey players. They're different kind of leaders.
And the teams were in different positions too.
100%. So I don't think it has to be wait for Bedard. There's a lot of people kind of in the chat saying, well, let's wait until Toews officially retires.
Doesn't matter. He's not on his team anymore. Whether he's retired or not, he's not under contract.
I think the Hawks might do him that gratitude for a while longer.
He's it's one thing if he was still under contract for 3 years and doing the LTIR thing.
Yeah, right.
He's a free agent. He's not under contract. I don't think that's disrespectful in the least.
I don't think it's disrespectful, but I think they will give it until they have to name a captain this year to name it. If he was to come out today and say, I'm going to retire, maybe they would do it ahead of camp. But I do think they will have a captain this year. It's based on just, I don't know anything. There's not inside information by any means, but just kind of a gut feeling. But I think the Hawks would kind of like to know. what Taves' plans are, not from a hockey standpoint, but like they want to give him that one-day contract,
Right.
immediate jersey retirement, like all the stuff that comes along with one of the greatest players in franchise history retiring.
Yeah.
They want to give it to him, but apparently he's just kind of, I don't know if he just doesn't want to admit that he's done. I don't know if he's just like, I don't want all that fanfare. It's coming. He's going to get it one way or another.
Right.
So anyway, all right, let's move on to Frank Nazar quickly before Mitch Brown from Elite Prospects joins us to talk about that very Frank Nazar. Last year, Nazar played 3 games and had 1 goal, 1 point in his 3 games with the Hawks. With Michigan last year, just for the record, 41 games, 17 goals, 24 assists for 41 points. I gave him go ahead. You go first. Sorry, I got to keep the order going.
Yeah.
For graphic purposes.
I mean, 3 games in the NHL is nothing that you can give a full grade on.
Wait, we didn't give grades.
So yeah, I just said no,
incomplete.
No grade for Nazar, but his year at Michigan was fantastic. He was one of the leaders of that team on and off the ice. It was quite a bounce back season after missing most of his freshman year when he had a lot of expectations. He played great at the World Juniors. Like it was a fantastic year for him coming into this year now. So I'm gonna say 7 points this year. Mix them out however you want, because I feel like he's only going to play about 15 games. And I think that's going to be either in injury replacement or maybe post-trade deadline end of the season. I feel like the Blackhawks are making it difficult for young guys to make this roster. They're not just going to be handed positions because they have to. I think, the increase in talent on the roster is going to make it difficult even for a guy like Nazar, who I think has a spot open for competition in training camp. But I just think, the Blackhawks seem pretty convicted in their, like, let's let these young guys have some runway before we necessarily need to throw them into the NHL, ahead of time. So I think he's going to play the majority of the year in Rockford, and I say he gets a total of 15 games in the NHL this year, and they will be 15 fun games.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not going to predict as many games as he plays at each level, but I think the majority of his year will be with the Rockford Ice Hogs, where I see him putting up 18 goals and 20 assists, being a dynamic player down there. And then in whatever time he gets with the Blackhawks, 6 goals, 5 assists. So he'll have a very impactful rookie season, first pro season. But I think they're just going to take their time with him and let him get that extra play in Rockford. It's available. Take it. Unless preseason and training camp, he just flat out tells you, shows you, I'm an NHLer from day one. Yep. I'm going to be here. Then hey. That's great too, but there's no reason to rush anything at this point.
So I was trying to figure out games played, and I looked at how many games did Max Domi play for the Leafs or the Stars after the Hawks traded him. And it was 20. So I'm going to say 20 games because I think Nazar is going to come up after the trade deadline. Mm-hmm. And I have 7 goals and 5 assists for Frank Nazar because he's going to be in the top 6. He's going to get power play time. He'll be playing, I'm sure, a little bit in one of those roles with Connor Bedard for a little while. So who knows when those 20 games come? I'm just predicting they're going to let him do the first 2/3 of the season in Rockford. And then once they trade out some of the, veterans they brought in and they feel more comfortable about these young guys coming up and playing, they'll call for Nazar up, for the last time, and he will be an NHL player from that point on.
I hope so.
We'll see. That'll be fun. All right. Mitch Brown from Elite Prospects is standing by and will join us here in a second on CHGO Blackhawks. But we want to remind you the weekend is here, and after a long work week, after navigating traffic through Lollapalooza traffic in the city, you're going to want to choose chill. And when you do choose chill, reach for a Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment. There are plenty of chances in life to make things better by choosing chill. Grab every opportunity to do so, then reach for a refreshing Coors Light. When those mountains turn blue, your Coors Light is as cold as the Rockies. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged. for a smoother finish. When you embrace a chill mindset, it's a good time to choose chill and crack open a nice cold Coors Light. It is mountain cold refreshment, crisp and refreshing as the Colorado Rockies. Make the most out of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door right now. Well, like 10 minutes because I have to go to the store and then get it to you. But very quickly with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/CHGO Hockey. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
And the sun is out. Summer is here. It's Lollapalooza weekend. If you're heading to the city for the big music festival wearing your irrelevant early 2000s NBA basketball jersey, don't forget to accessorize with an awesome pair of sunglasses from our friends at Shady Rays, who make premium Polaroid shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all your outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so no matter what player's jersey you have this weekend, you're going to find a pair that matches your style and your fit. Plus, if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, you can exchange them for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. And exclusively for our wonderful listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to ShadyRays.com, use the promo code CHGO, and you're going to get 35% off your polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 folks.
And we hope all 300,000 of those folks are subscribers to Elite Prospects and EMPRinkside.com. This is the first thing I read today. I think I sent it to you guys before I even put my glasses on this morning from our guest who is standing by right now, Mitch Brown from Elite Prospects. He is their Director of North American Scouting and wrote a wonderful piece titled Film Room, Frank Nazar is back and better than ever. And we're going to talk about Frank Nazar with Mitch Brown. Mitch, thanks for being with us, man. We appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. It's a beautiful day here, but I would be nowhere else than here talking and watching hockey.
Yeah, we're kind of as beautiful as it is. We would love to fast forward to hockey season. And one of the things, last year everybody was very excited to watch Connor Bedard's rookie year, and the little bit of a sniff we got from Frank Nazar last season, where he came in 3 games, looked dynamic, looked very good, was noticeable among other NHL players. Have a lot of fans expected about his 2024-25 season. You wrote about his 2 years with Michigan and how after the injury, things slowed down, and then he came back with such a great season last year. Let's start there. Let's start with the recovery and the bounce back from Frank Nazar in Michigan. What did you see from him last year that impressed you so much?
Well, I think we got to go back another year and say, okay, so what was Frank Nazar doing in the season where he was recovering from surgery? He comes back in. He doesn't really look like Frank. He's a little bit less dynamic. He's a little bit less inside driven. The game seems a little bit too fast for him. And if you know Frank Nazar, you know that normally he's the guy who's pushing pace. He's the guy who's playing fast. And then with that 14 or 13 game stint under his belt, he comes back to Michigan, and right out of the gate, this is Frank Nazar again. He's dynamic. He's attacking the inside. He's very aggressive physically. I think what he showed this season was another level of creation ability, another level of translatability to the NHL. And then you add in the fact that he's someone who can play different positions if need be. He's someone who can get the puck off the wall. He tries hard. He's physical. He's engaged. And he looks like someone who's going to be a long-term top 6 forward in the NHL.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, that's exciting. I think what stood out to me, and I encourage everybody to check out the story because there's so many great videos embedded. Nazar's willingness to just, and a lot of people make a lot about the size. You've got Bedard at center, smallish. Nazar, we're not sure if he's a center or a wing, but smallish. But what you see from Nazar is, and you mentioned it, Mitch, almost like an obsession to go to the middle of the ice. He is always looking for that route to go from boards to center ice, which is a lot of players are kind of the opposite. He seems driven to the front of the net. Do you think that means that he's got what it takes to become an NHL full-time center despite his lack of ideal size?
Absolutely. The inside play is the biggest part of his game. It's the biggest component. And it's not just that he gets there, it's how he does it. So when you're looking at him on the breakout or for entries, it's the tiniest gap. He's going to take it to the middle and then go from there. Lots of players, they'll see the small gap. They'll say, no, I'm going to stay to the outside and then hope that I can rip a cross ice pass. He wants the middle because then he's in control of what the defenders are going to do. If they come at him, he can kick the puck out wide to a teammate who has a clear route down the boards. If they stay apart, he can go straight down the middle. He also uses a lot of little tricks to be able to stay inside that space in the middle of the ice, like slowing down or cutting back or simply just waiting for support, deceiving everyone, and then hitting that through pass to the teammate driving the net. And then the second part of it is the physical aspect of it. What makes him really interesting, and you guys have probably seen this with Connor Bedard too, it's not just that he's willing to hit people. It's that when he goes into the boards, he gets low, he skates through the person's hips, drives in front of their body, he initiates contact early. And so while he might not have the ideal size, he uses his stature incredibly well to out-leverage opponents, out-time them, and then be able to spin off them and make a play.
I think that's, a good point of, what is underrated in his game is that, he's maybe a little bit less than the ideal size for a guy who you're going to want to, put a lot on his plate as he gets to the NHL and becomes more of a producer for your team. But he's able to, withstand that physicality. I think a lot of times people are thinking of small guys, they're just going to get beat up, but small guys, they learn how to be small guys in the NHL and how to survive and thrive as that. And I think Nazar has that mindset. And I think too, one of the things that I think we saw at the World Juniors is, he was still producing at a high level for that team, for Team USA. But I think what stood out was his defensive game, and where that kind of physicality and that speed that you don't really see from him defensively, that really shined, or that was really a focal point during Team USA. During the World Juniors. Do you feel like that defensive game can translate to the NHL level, or is that more of amongst peers is where it kind of stands out?
Yeah, the World Juniors is a great observation, where at the beginning, he's ripping all these crazy passes and controlling the game, and then as the tournament ramps up, the top line starts scoring more. He starts picking it up on the defensive side, starts locking down opponents. What makes Nazar really interesting in the defensive zone is how about it he is. He's one of those guys who wants to be a difference maker. He rises to the occasion. He plays with a ton of confidence. The reads aren't fully there yet. He can be overpowered despite his little tricks to be able to create space for himself. So there is that. But the flip side of it is, this is a guy who wants to be a difference maker. I have full faith that he's going to be able to add those more detail-focused things to his game in time. And then, of course, if all else fails, the reality of it is that on the wing, can you imagine having a guy who just every time the puck is on the boards, he takes it to the middle every single time? We even saw this a little bit in the NHL where it was in a better situation. His willingness to carry the puck to the middle of the rink, even if it's not clean, would lead to more scoring chances, right? What a lot of prospects do is they get the puck, they want to get it to the middle, so they just throw a blind pass or they try to dangle through people. He absorbs the contact, gets it to the middle of the rink, and then even if the puck gets poked off his stick in that position, it's more likely to be picked up by one of his teammates for a better look. So even if the defense doesn't necessarily have to become, or even if it doesn't become a strength per se, you always have the fact that he can go to the wing and he can be a special player on the wing too.
I think one of the biggest storylines that we'll be going through here, not soon enough, but soon in training camp, will Frank Nazar make the team out of camp, or will he be better served with some time in the AHL? The Blackhawks have kind of left that second line center slot on their roster open, so it seems like it's his job to win. But big picture, long term, do you think a half a season or a full season in the AHL would be the best for his development, or do you think he should just be NHL from day one?
I think a lot of that is going to come down to preseason. My personal preference would be to see him in the AHL first. He's a player who relies on those little tiny gaps, creating them, exploiting them, and the pro adjustment can be a little bit longer for those players. And of course, we can look back at past history with Frank Nazar and say, okay, well, at the NTDP, he wasn't the top guy or a top guy until a few months with the U17 team. At the NCAA, sure, there was the injury, but it did take him some time to figure out how to play his game. He's one of those players who, just because the margins for him are so small, or rather he prefers to operate in the small margins of the rink to be able to create the biggest possible advantage, he's going to take a little bit more time to figure out how to do that in the NHL. Now, of course, this can completely change. It's an off season. This is going to be an opportunity for him to gain a bunch of weight, get stronger, get more powerful. And he got that taste at the end of the season. He might come in and kick the door. Like, there's a real chance that he's able to do that, especially because he does provide something that the Blackhawks don't necessarily have. You mentioned the 2C, but also the physical aspect of it, the speed. They want to be a faster team. They draft all the fastest guys every single year. And there's a real opportunity for him if he wants it, or rather he's capable of doing it.
So one thing I noticed, Mitch, in some of the clips you had in your story today for Elite Prospects, and again, everybody make sure you go check that out today. When he does head to the middle of the ice, he has made himself vulnerable for some hits, and he's able to kind of see them at the last second and spin off of them or kind of deke away in the last second. We saw Connor Bedard learn a hard lesson this year that he's not going to be able to, split the defense as easily as he did in junior. Is that something else that you think will come with some AHL time to kind of play against a bigger, more physical style of player? Or, is the fact that maybe there's a bit of a skill drop off in the AHL and speed drop off? I mean, kind of figuring out like how will he learn to what's the best case for him to navigate the physicality of the pro game?
So my personal opinion on this is that he stops trying to take a hit to make a marginal play. He is someone who, to simply make a tiny little drop pass to someone who's going to shoot it from 40 feet out, he will get flattened to do it. He really likes that type of stuff. And in the clips that I showed, I'm intentionally showing ones where he's not getting killed because I don't want that to be the center point of it. But it's a real fear with him for sure, is that, to some degree, he's going to put himself in vulnerable positions and could potentially get injured or just lose some of his ability to be able to make plays from those positions. Now, the other side of it is that when you're taking that contact in college, these are all bigger, stronger players than they would be in the CHL for the most part. So he's used to it. Going to the pro level, of course, you're going to want to see him, let's say, tone that down a little bit. He wouldn't be the first prospect to have to learn that he can't just engage everyone super aggressively like that. I think the best case scenario, other than making the NHL straight away, is that a couple months into his AHL time, he's showing that he can win the majority of his battles. He's showing a little bit more restraint and control in his game, and points are completely irrelevant to me in this situation. But generating scoring chances in the Frank Nazar way, still getting to the middle, still being confident, and still being an incredible playmaker.
You talk about his confidence. I mean, it seems like he's got no shortage of that. How much does that play into the style of play that he has? Like, some guys can just be, built to say, well, I have to be a net front guy. I have to play in the middle of the ice. I have to, play in the corners just because I'm big. But, some guys don't want to do that. How much does that confidence in his own game kind of put him ahead? Because we've seen some highly skilled players, young players, come through Chicago and not necessarily have that confidence and kind of get pushed to the wayside. Do you feel like that is something that is, it seems like it's a trait that you just can't teach in some of these guys, and in Nazar, it seems like he's got it in abundance.
Yeah, it's probably like the biggest part of his projection to some degree, is that he has that confidence, that he's proven that even when the situation gets really tough, look at the injury and coming back earlier than everyone expected. And then he didn't score very much, wasn't sure what this season was going to look like, but then he just finds another level. That's confidence right there. Confidence is playing in the NCAA tournament or in the finals. I can't remember which game it was for the Big Ten, and getting a 2-on-1. And then instead of slipping the puck around the defender, you put it between your legs to Brindley for the goal. Confidence is Frank Nazar at the World Juniors passing, every pass that he connected with that tournament, right? So I think for him, this is really it. Most players can do most things. That's the reality of it, is especially at this level. All these prospects, hot players, are getting too good. They can do the vast majority of things. The separating factor a lot of times is, can you be physical? Do you know how to initiate contact? And are you confident? And that's Frank Nazar.
All right, because you did a little similar feature on Sasha Boisvert ahead of the draft, so we want to ask you a little bit about him coming up here. But real quick, we love to play this game. Top of your head, NHL comp for Frank Nazar. Someone playing now that reminds you of him.
Okay, so stylistically, the easy answer is Braden Point. I'm not saying he's going to be a Braden Point level player, but when you look at Braden Point, you look at Frank Nazar, that's probably the biggest overlap there is in terms of style of play. The controlling the middle of the rink, the way they move, the way they shift their weight around defenders, the playmaking, also the goal scoring too. You know, there's a one-timer element to his game that you don't get to see much. There's the counterattack speed to net drives, very similar to Braden Point. So that's probably the closest one stylistically. I don't know if he's ever going to be a Braden Point level dynamic scorer, but certainly someone who could push the 70-point limit seems within his capability. And then you add in the fact that there's so much skill, or going to be skill, on Chicago in the future that I think there are a lot of good fits for him in what the Blackhawks could be in 3 or 4 years.
Well, speaking of skill and versatility, that's what you wrote about Sasha Boisvert on June 26th, right ahead of the draft. The Hawks pick him this year at 18. What can you tell us about Boisvert? Because I think as we were preparing for the draft, a lot of us saw Michael Hayes as the guy who was probably going to be the pick there because Chicago Steel, proximity, it just made a lot of sense. So when Boisvert was picked, we were all kind of scrambling to get some info on him. So what can you tell us about Boisvert?
So he's a little bit of an outlier in this Blackhawks prospect pool. He's not a speedster. Skating is the primary flaw, but he is big. He is smart. He has a ton of details to his game. He's very much someone who wants to get to the middle of the rink also. He plays with a lot of confidence, a lot of aggression. He could definitely ramp it up at times. He's someone who kind of can fade into the background because he's trying to hunt that perfect play, which isn't unusual for players in the USHL by any means. I really like his playmaking in particular, how he's able to spot teammates creeping down the back door, how he finds them at the far post, how he deceives everyone across the rink, pulling defenders into him only to pass through them to the now open teammate. He has the shot for sure, and he can defend, and you definitely do not want to get into a fight with Sasha Boisvert. That did not go well for the vast majority of people who tried this season. So a versatile, well-rounded player. He has the special elements. He also has the fallback game. So a large range of outcomes for him, but I think he looks like an NHL player.
Yeah, it's kind of a, like you said, a little bit of a off the path, and it seems like that was almost intentionally done by the Hawks because you look at Bedard, you look at Moore, you look at Nazar, and you say, well, we probably need someone with a little more of a oomph to their game. I think what we're kind of projecting him, though, is in an ideal world, and if he kind of hits his ceiling, probably like a really good third-line center. With that, in your mind, is that kind of the ceiling projection for him?
I wouldn't say it's the ceiling, but that's probably what I would bet on if I were putting money on it. Someone 3C, versatile. You can put him on the wing too, and he can move up in the lineup if necessary.
Great. Sounds good to me.
Let's start training camp.
Yeah, let's start now.
I want to get to
We're
see all these
ready.
guys. Not soon enough.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Well, Mitch, thanks so much for taking time out. We just linked your article on the CHGO Blackhawks Twitter. So fans, if you want to give that a read while we wrap up the show here, please do. Mitch, thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Make sure you're following Mitch on Twitter at Mitch L. Brown. Thanks, man. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Mitch.
See, I
Go
love
enjoy your
doing
day.
these things, but then all it does is get me more and more excited for the season to begin. And then I look at my calendar. I'm like,
Yeah.
shit. We have way too long to go until the puck drops.
Another month.
Yeah, about 6-7 weeks before. Well, we'll get that rookie camp is usually around the 15th, 16th of September.
Yeah. Yep.
And
that
then
feeds up into training camp.
training camp will probably start around the 25th or so.
Yeah, we have the dates. We just got to.
So yeah,
Come on.
it's
Stupid August.
It's August. August is going to go by fast.
Settle down, guys.
Hopefully.
I got stuff to do. Not
I
many
mean, I
things
know
to
when
do.
I was in school, August was the fastest month of the year
Seemed
because.
to be, yeah.
So let's get that going. So, we've got NFL preseason football to keep us busy between.
That's
now
why I got
and
my
then.
Meatball Island shirt on
Yeah,
today.
Sure do.
Brett Rippin, baby.
Sure.
Trade Caleb now while the value's high. Don't need him.
That's right.
Got Brett Rippin. Rippin passes left and right. See it? The shirts make themselves.
Feel like
Yeah.
sitting next to Carm all of a sudden.
Who was the number 80? The guy who had all the touchdown catches.
Colin Johnson?
Yeah, he was good.
Yeah, he's the new.
Sorry, Keenan Allen.
He's the new training camp wide receiver savior.
He's the new Kenny Christian and Ken Mistroli combo.
Yes. Who was the? Wasn't there like a Michael Huff? too?
Michael Huff, yeah.
There's always like a small white wide receiver
It's
that everybody
almost
felt-
always a small,
Oh,
white,
yeah.
gritty wide receiver.
Right.
Yes.
which is great because you can have him pick you up in his Uber for the opening day of the Bears.
I did enjoy the video. I don't know if you guys saw it of the Bears quarterbacks learning to slide on a slip and slide. They had like a slip and slide at Bears practice. That looked pretty fun.
They
should
do that.
here.
They do that in baseball too. Baseball camps.
I need to do that. Coaching girls, like teenage girls, to slide is impossible.
Yeah.
They just don't want to. They don't want to do it.
like
I
a
don't
mental
know.
block.
I don't know.
Huh.
It's strange.
I mean, it's
I've had girls cry about it. Like, all right, if you're going home, you're gonna have to slide. I don't want to.
it's one of those things that, like, even in our CHGO softball league, there are times where I'm like, you know, I'm wearing shorts, the field is dry,
Yeah.
and it's just like, shit, I gotta slide, and it's like, this is gonna suck. Rip up my shin, and yeah.
I did that once.
Still gotta do it.
I did slide and rip up my shin, and it got somewhat infected, so I had to get like an MRI.
Nice. You rubbed too
to
much
make sure
dirt
there was
on
like no rock in my bloodstream.
Hmm.
I still have a scar on my right calf from it. And
So
then,
the
so then
lesson
the next
is
game I
don't
did not slide, and that was in the radio league. And
Hmm.
Sarah Spain was playing shortstop for the ESPN team,
And you
and
trucked
I
her.
did not slide. I had to like stop myself from running over Sarah Spain. It was awkward. So don't wear shorts when you play softball. These are the lessons we learned.
Yeah. Wow. I'll still
yeah.
wear shorts.
So always got to remember, no matter when you're sliding at whatever level, just remember to put your hands up.
Hands, yeah, like limbo.
Yeah.
We do. The way we started teaching it in softball is you hold the bat out and you slide under and touch the bat.
Mm.
But it's a mental block.
It is a mental. There is a mental side of it for sure. Like you gotta be committed to it, because if you half slide, then you're gonna hurt yourself.
Right.
Especially
And if
if
you
you
don't slide, you're gonna hurt
Especially
yourself.
if you half slide head first, then oof,
Exactly.
mouthful of dirt.
Well, that was fun. I'm excited for Nazar, and that didn't do anything to quell that. The videos they illustrate exactly what Mitch was talking about.
Yeah.
Not only just a willingness to go, but a desire to go to the middle of the ice.
Yeah.
Almost to a fault with Nazar.
Yeah.
But hey, I mean, we've like I said, we've seen highly skilled forward prospects in Chicago that did not or do not want to go to the middle of the ice to make things happen, and you plateau. You hit a wall in what you can do, and usually that plateau or that wall is short of being an NHL regular. And for some of those guys, Dylan Sekura, Lucas Reichel,
Yep.
like
Those are the first two I
Well,
think
I
of.
mean,
those are the guys that, like,
I almost said the name
you had more.
when Mitch was talking about the skill wingers that want to get in the middle, say just throw a blind pass into the middle of the ice. Reichel does that all the time.
Too much.
Is he'll be along the boards, he'll pull up to avoid a hit, which is fine, and then just kind of like send it maybe towards the net, but not necessarily to anyone. He's got to fix that. Like look, I don't think Lucas Reichel's ever going to be Eric Lindros. He's not going to be a guy
right.
who
That'd be
drives
amazing.
and crashes the net and gets in net front scrums, but there has to be a willingness to bring your body to the center of the ice
Yeah.
and not just say not actively avoid contact by giving up the puck. That will get you in the American Hockey League and then out of Chicago in short order. And we've talked about it all summer. He's got to be feeling the nipping at his heels because there's not a bottom six spot for him. Maybe you call that Kurashev, Athanasiou, Reichel line your third line,
Yeah.
just based on personnel. but it's not a third line style. And on a championship team, you're not going to have a line like that as your third line. You need a legitimate checking line that can kind of do it all.
Yeah.
I think you could put Kurashev in that kind of a role. Foligno plays that kind of a role, but Lucas Reichel, when it's time for this team to win, if he's not top 6, he's not here.
He's not going to be effective. Yeah.
And with
Bertuzzi,
Tavo, Bedard, Moore, Nazar, he's running out of spots to take.
Yeah.
In that top 6. So I don't know. This is a understatement, but a massive year for Lucas Reichel. Maybe he'll be our Friday breakdown next week. One of them.
Could do that.
Could be
Sure,
fun.
why not?
All right. I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Yes, sir.
So I'm bringing this to the table, to the group, to the chat.
Olympic crushes.
No,
Cowards.
my brother is in a fantasy dynasty league.
Okay.
And he has the first overall pick in his league this year. Someone else in the league, a good friend of ours, is a gigantic Sharks fan and is offering up the 8th overall pick, next year's first round pick, and Andrei Svechnikov for the first pick to get Celebrini.
Well, who's already on his team though? That's
On my buddy's team?
Yeah.
He sent me this. Joel Eriksson Ek, Boone Jenner, Dylan Larkin, Connor McDavid, Mikko Rantanen, Nick Suzuki.
He don't need Celebrini. Make the trade. Make the trade. I don't think Celebrini's going to be like an instant impact player anyway.
It's a dynasty league though.
Sure.
So you
you can keep him for as
you
long
can
as he
keep him
wants.
for I don't know the contract lengths, but
if you already got McDavid and Mikko Rantanen,
What?
and then you add Svechnikov, and you get an extra first round pick next year, yeah, I make that trade.
I would want a little more than Svechnikov though.
Well, maybe
I
try
mean, if you're a massive Sharks fan, you have to have Macklin Celebrini.
see how bad he wants him.
yeah, no, I
Yeah.
agree. I told because he was talking to me about this a couple days ago, and it was just the pick swap and the extra first, and I was like, I don't think that's enough. And then he goes,
Because you don't know where that first is going to be.
right, yeah, and then he goes, well, he really wants him, so now he's throwing in Filip Hronek. And I'm like, I wouldn't do that. And he goes, well, now he's made it Andrei Svechnikov. And I'm like, maybe.
Keep going. You're getting closer.
Who else can you get?
Maybe
Yeah.
Hronek and Svechnikov.
I don't know.
Keep squeezing him.
Yeah.
No, I agree. And
keep rejecting until he finally gives up.
and
or
at worst,
take
then
that
you
last
just take
offer.
Celebrini.
Yeah, or whoever else you want at number 1. I don't know.
You gotta play hardball.
Yeah, I agree.
You can't just stand
That's why
bowman it.
I like my general managers league, where it's a dynasty league, but we have contracts and salary caps.
Yeah.
We do an auction style draft every year under the salary cap.
Yeah.
So
That'd be fun.
like you can get creative and get the guys you actually want, as opposed to taking best player that's at your position.
All right, well, I told him I'd bring it up on the show, so there you go.
Yeah, I mean,
The chat also seems to be in favor of doing that.
I would do that trade, but see what more you can get.
Well, they draft this weekend, so we'll see.
Squeeze them a little more.
Yeah, and wait.
There you go.
Wait until
Oh, yeah. Wait.
What
till,
time's the draft? 7:30? It's 7:25.
Wait till he's on the clock.
Svechnikov isn't really that exciting to me.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah.
That's fun.
Drag it out. Drag it out as long as possible. Make him sweat.
And Mario, you can tell us tomorrow during our SummerSlam watch along what the
Well, I don't
result
know if
is.
he'll make the trade tomorrow.
But he said the draft is tomorrow night.
Draft is Sunday,
Oh, it's Sunday. Oh, okay, never mind.
so we'll see. If he doesn't make the trade, I will alert everybody.
All right.
Sounds
I'll
So
make
that-
I'll make a
Yes.
big trade alert, just like at the Sphere. I'll scare
Right over your
everybody.
head.
And that is right. SummerSlam watch along.
Yep, don't forget.
Tomorrow at 6 p.m. that the big show starts, which is good because it'll be over earlier.
I was looking at your SummerSlam shirt, trying to find Shawn Michaels, and there it is.
Yeah,
I found it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I was
the
going to be outraged.
broken heart.
Yeah.
90s
Yes,
Shawn Michaels.
like that one.
I believe Mario and I will be there,
be there?
and Ryan from CHGO Cubs, Big
You gonna be there?
Dave,
No, Jay's not going to be there. Sad.
Jay's lame, and
I'm on the
back out.
graphic, but I cannot be there. I had plans already.
Darn. Lawrence will be there.
Yeah,
and Lawrence will be here,
I'm
Yeah.
going to spend time
And-
away from work with my family.
and Salerno's Pizza.
Why would you do that?
There's someone else here that doesn't do that on my
Yeah.
behalf.
But are you going to have Salerno's Pizza where you're going to be?
Probably not.
See, then
no.
That's a downgrade.
are having a worse night than we are.
Yeah.
I'm going to Athletes Unlimited softball.
Okay.
Doubleheader out in Rosemont.
That'll be
Taking
fun.
my daughter and her personal catcher to the
Personal
game tomorrow
catcher?
night. She has a
Oh,
personal
She has a
catcher.
Dave Ross.
She does have a David Ross, but this girl can hit. So
Can she manage?
Yeah.
I actually, if I had to choose a manager, it would be this girl. Yes, absolutely. So it's gonna be fun. If you've never been to Athletes Unlimited softball, by the way, you should go. It's a lot of fun. Professional softball, the highest level, the best players in the world. Play a doubleheader every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You get both games for the price of one. Good food, good access for the kids. They sign autographs after every game. Love Athletes Unlimited. I'm very glad I'm going tomorrow.
Sweet. Should be a good time.
It'll be fun. All right, we're back. Mailbag Monday on Monday. Greg, are you off next week? Is that correct?
That's not
2
for
weeks
a
away.
couple weeks. Yeah, you are.
I'm trying to
just-
fast forward April, August.
Don't worry. You will know when I'm not here.
Because you won't be here.
He won't be here.
Right. I am not here the week of the convention.
Good move by you.
Yeah, smart.
Yes. I said, hey, no one else put in for that week? Boom, done.
Good for you.
Smart.
All right, so we're back Monday at 2:30. Mailbag Monday. Remember, CHGO Diehards, go in the Discord. There is that special Mailbag Monday tab. Make sure you put your question in there. You guys get priority as always. What is a diehard? Figure it out. AllCHGO.com and get access to all of our great written content, a free t-shirt or hat upon sign up, 20% off all of our events like our upcoming Kickoff Classic, August 23rd at Cog Hill. It's going to be a great time. I bought my ticket today, so I'll be playing golf, in air quotes, at Cog Hill. That's August
There you go
23rd,
again.
9 a.m. shotgun start.
Over exaggerating your lack of golf. skill.
I will say, when we played together at the Cookout Classic, Sans Cookout, it was probably the best I've ever played.
Okay, well, just do it again.
I will try, but that's as good as it gets.
Okay, that was pretty decent.
It was not horrible. I will admit it was not horrible. I was as surprised as anyone.
Yeah.
I mean, when you saw James Novo, like, damn, you're playing. That's the guy I golf with the most.
Yeah,
He has seen me. He is my designated ball finder on
Yeah.
and off the course.
you know. Yeah, that August 23rd. I'm very much looking forward to it. Cog Hill was awesome last year. It's gonna be awesome again this year. We don't have to rush out after the round this
Yeah.
year, so that'll be nice. We can hang around a little bit and enjoy the food. That'll be there.
Is brother friend coming, or is
He
your
is
dad
not
coming
playing.
again?
No, and I don't know if my dad's gonna be able to play it either because of I think work obligations on
Okay.
Fridays and
All
stuff. So I don't know. Might just be me out there by myself with a bunch of randos.
Hey man, I'll be
Who
there.
knows? It'll
I
be
am
fun.
alone this time too, so maybe we'll make a
It'll be a good
play with
time.
Jake and somebody else bad and make ourselves feel.
Maybe
better
Greg
about
actually
ourselves.
plays this time.
Nope, I'm on vacation.
Greg's out. All right, we'll talk to everybody.
Just a reminder for Mailbag Monday, peeps. If you'd like to see your face on the screen, the way I like to see my face on the screen, in Discord, if you're a diehard, add a video. Write out your question, but then also send in a video, and we'll play it as a video question.
Video question of the week.
Video question.
Yeah,
of
that'll be
the
fun.
That's a
week.
new little wrinkle to
I would
our
like to see that happen. I
mailbag.
think it'd be fun.
Video mailbag.
Yeah.
We're getting to
That'd
the
be great.
20th century
I think
here.
it'd be cool. So if you want to do that for us, just get out your phone, point it at your face, preferably landscape.
We just got a thumbs down when you went on camera.
we
So.
just got a thumbs down.
Well, that's just because I was
so
on screen.
yeah.
That's not about the idea.
But while
I
we're
mean,
Hey, let's undo that thumbs down by smashing the like button before
yeah,
we
Thank
go
you.
here.
offset it.
It was,
But
an accident. It's
If you're not a diehard, we get it. Not everybody can afford it at this time, but when you can, please consider it. But we'll put a tweet out probably Sunday night.
Yeah.
Respond to the tweet, and we'll find your question there. Very easy way to do it. So we'll talk to you then, 2:30 on Monday. Thanks to Mitch Brown for being here again. We linked his story on our Twitter at CHGO_Blackhawks. Check it out. Hawks fans, do yourselves a favor. Sign up for Elite Prospects, at least for the next 3 or 4 years, because you're going to need it. We'll talk to you Monday at 2:30 on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.